Good evening and welcome to the Entrepreneurs Hangout. I am Sean Duffy. I'm privileged to be part of the great team at EY in Ireland. We're streaming live after the first show. Hope you really enjoyed it. And we'll be streaming here at 9 o'clock after every show to enable us to probe a little deeper as to what it means to be an entrepreneur. This week we're joined by three great entrepreneurs who are current finalists. And I'm delighted to have in the room Andrew Murphy from Sláinte Healthcare. You're very welcome, Andrew. Gerry McKernan, part of the incredible duo behind Club to Hire. And joining us on Skype, Dermot, Smurift of GameAccount Network. You're all very, very welcome. And thanks for joining us, guys. So far, our hashtag EOI 2014 has reached, in conversation terms, about 4 million people, and we're absolutely inundated with questions and flooded with great questions. And before we get into those, I'd love if I could go around to each of you and ask you to say a little bit about yourself and a bit about your background. Andrew?
Hi, Sean. I'm Andrew Murphy. I founded Sláinte Healthcare about 7.5 years ago. A technology company delivering technology to transform how healthcare is delivered. We now operate across 5 continents. We employ 120 people, and our main business at this stage is changing how the patient chart works, from being a paper patient chart to being something that's completely electronic and aids clinicians on how care is delivered.
Sean, Gerry McKernan, part of the duo that is clubstohire.com. Our business is very simple. We rent high quality, high end golf clubs at international airports in order to avoid the hassle and the cost of carrying them on the plane. So we started in June 2010. So we're 4 years in operation. We're across 21 different locations, as far away as Turkey, Cyprus, big number in Spain, Portugal, all of the Gulf hubs, and we're currently in expansion mode and delighted to be here.
And finally, Dermot.
Thanks, Sean. My name's Dermot Smurift. I'm the 39-year-old Chief Executive of GameAccount Network PLC. We're a publicly traded company on the Irish Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange. And I've been working on building this business for the last 12 years. It's an internet gambling software business, and we principally sell that software and supporting services to land-based casinos in America, who are all beginning to move online with a variety of different experiences for their land-based casino patrons.
Thanks, Dermot. So, my first question comes from AB Sales 1. And I'm going to ask each of you in turn, because I think it's a great question. Did each finalist, Andrew, to you first, did each finalist always have a feeling growing up that a job, a 9 to 5, just wasn't for you?
No. In fact, I was unusual in that in first year, when we did a project on what we wanted to be, I wanted to be a chemical engineer, right? So I had always a plan to go into manufacturing, into chemical engineering, and build up a corporate profile. And indeed, that's what I did. And it was only during the course of completing an MBA while I was running a chemical plant that I kind of had my horizons opened, and I realized that I started thinking about the risk in the status quo, and just keeping on that track. And people often don't assess that risk. And I saw an opportunity, and I said I'd regret not following that opportunity and not seizing it. And went ahead. I'm probably unemployable now, but certainly that wasn't how I started.
And Gerry, to you, 9 to 5, was that the stimulus?
No, I would be the opposite of Andrew. I don't have a conventional academic career. I started off running nightclubs at the age of 18 all around the south of Ireland and progressed through various different things. And at the age of 30, bought a business which made spectacle lenses, which was my first foray into, I suppose, self-employment, and that expanded rapidly. I sold that and started Clubs to Hire with Tony 4 years ago. So 9 to 5 has never been a feature in my life, and I doubt it ever will be. It's more like 9 to 9, and no gaps for sleeping in between. But I don't think that any entrepreneur, any business person has a time limit on their day, and certainly if anybody out there wants to become a business person, don't put a time limit on their day, because it's not going to work.
So the point is 9 to 5 isn't long enough as a day. Dermot, what was the driver?
Losing my job. Very simple. In 2002, I was working in technology investment banking, and in the wake of the dot-com crash, there were no jobs out there. Myself and a very large group of other technology bankers were twiddling our thumbs in various different parts of Europe, and I was determined to start working for myself so that ultimately and hopefully I couldn't in the future be fired without some extraordinary circumstances coming to pass. So a lot of entrepreneurs seem to report that losing their job and needing to create value for themselves as being the origination point of their entrepreneurial journey, and I had that exact same experience.
A big question that seems to be a huge feature of the network of people who have connected to this conversation has been the debate around genetic, nurture, nature. Gerry, I know you describe a scenario where you were very fluid in how you got involved in businesses, and I'm always taking that. Where are you on that question? Are you genetically predisposed to be an entrepreneur?
I don't believe that you're genetically predisposed to be any particular person. I think you have to, that question goes slightly deeper, because you have to examine the term entrepreneur. And effectively, I suppose I've been working for myself to a degree for a long time, and entrepreneur is only a word that has really become fashionable in the past 10 years. And lots of people want to know the origins of it. I believe the origin of the word entrepreneur was that it was first coined by a Kerry man who went to France in 1830. So the term has only recently become common in any, and I suppose it's a handle that they put on mavericks like myself and Andrew and Dermot, that kind of legitimizes a career path. And I would certainly suggest that this program and various things like it, and promoting entrepreneurship, is a change in people's outlook that encourages away from the conventional go to first, second level education, on to third level, get some sort of degree and go on into a career. Now the option is open to you through exposure like this to say, if you have an idea, go for it, because there's people out there that are champion job creation. So I don't think it's necessarily about whether you're born to a path of entrepreneurship or born to a path of medical, doctor or law. I think it's there's now been a society change that says working for yourself, taking risks, creating jobs, following your dream is good, and we'll all throw it in under the banner of entrepreneurship.
Another question that has come in from Tanya in Dublin, and I think it's pretty relevant, Andrew, to the way you opened up the conversation about going through a conventional academic university education and then making a decision. The importance of network. What support network do you have in place or had in place that continues you on this journey?
I guess when I made the decision to found Sláinte, I was going to be giving up, a pretty guaranteed career. I mean, there was more promotions in line, and obviously I was giving up a fixed salary. That would have been impossible, really, I think, for me to countenance. We just had our first child. If my wife hadn't been pulling in, a decent salary in quite a responsible job herself. So I think having that financial support that my wife was bringing in a salary, and B, the moral support that she said, okay, I'm not sure why you need to do this, but okay, I got to back you. That was critical.
And thank goodness she did. And Dermot, back to you. Really great question here. What motivates you to keep going at the start of your business establishment? At the very early slopes, how do you keep going at that time?
I think it's mostly about the art of the possible. You come up with so many ideas at the beginning phase of setting up a company, And then you have to kind of filter the wheat from the chaff and figure out which ones are going to work and which ones are kind of secondary activities that may or may not support the main idea or the main part of the vision. So the implementation at the very beginning is as much an exercise in creative business imagination as it is about business infrastructure, recruitment, financing, and all the other more administrative sides of being an entrepreneur.
Andrew, I mean, on that theme, survival mechanisms and coping mechanisms. I mean, Gerry, I know when we were in Seattle and Vancouver, we talked a lot about how, you know, the constancy of fear and how you deal with that in business on a daily basis. I mean, the speed bumps, you know, what mechanisms have you developed over those years to deal with those, whether they be financial, emotional, operational, whatever?
I guess I always have the belief that there's a plan B if there's a way around any particular obstacle. So, I mean, that would be a core belief that I would have, that there's nothing that insurmountable, otherwise, you know, life wouldn't happen, right? And I think, you know, a key aspect of being successful is the ability to persevere when all looks a little bit lost, or two and three things go against you in the same week, and being able to just, I think a great thing to do there is just to de-emotionalize it and just get out a piece of paper and just write down the issues and a plan. What are you going to do about it? What if? And it's amazing how that frames what used to maybe initially look like a massive issue. You can actually park it over there. It can be dealt with. It's not going to pull everything else down.
And Gerry, I mean, just on that theme of risk, I mean, do you have any particular coping mechanisms or an attitude? Because it is a major theme coming through the hashtag to EOI 2014. How do you deal with risk? When do you know when to jump, and what are you going to do about it?
I think a lot of people would perceive guys like ourselves as being risk takers, but in actual fact, there's probably, we all do it in our own wee different ways, but you tend to scenario plan in order to minimise the risks. Now, you can never take risk totally out of the equation, because we are doing risky things. We're creating, we're sort of challenging our energies into new markets and new things. But what you can do by examining all of the possibilities, and maybe slightly the same answer as Andrew's, you know, you're aware of what the problems might be. And I suppose from our point of view, you know, it's good to talk about what might happen. And it's also, I think, very much down to, okay, you're going to have problems. We're all going to have problems, whether it's a conventional career or the type of things that we do. You will have issues. And it depends how you look at those issues. Those issues can be, for somebody that's negative, an absolute disaster, a roadblock. For somebody like ourselves, from my point of view, it's about positivity. It's about turning the negative into something positive. It's about turning the challenge into an opportunity. And that's all very flowery language, but if you look at something from the attitude it's a disaster, constantly, possibly a career like the ones that we're embarked upon is not the career for you. And not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Yeah. But similarly, there are, you know, in your line of work and in everybody's line of work, there are going to be challenges. And it's about accepting that you can't be the best at everything, taking on board that there are going to be failures, but not letting them block you. Yeah. There's a workaround, there's some opportunity to turn that into a positive and move forward.
Dermot, you know, in our interactions, you know, I've always felt that you bring a huge confidence and presence into the room and an enthusiasm into the room when you come in, but yet the start of the journey was a pretty big moment, and I'm sure the confidence got knocked out of the sails a little bit. The pipe dream to reality, was it purely the stimulus of a change of job, or was it following some role model or seeking to do something to follow the footsteps of others? What was the driver?
Well, I think the first thing I'd say is that confidence is a trick of perception rather than reality. I think a lot of people buy into visions which are articulated with a particular forceful manner, and also with and through the medium of confidence. You have to articulate your business ideas because you have to sell them. You sell them to consumers, you sell them to your colleagues, you sell them to your shareholders. It's a constant process of trying to convince people that here is the path forward, here's the vision, here are the milestones to reach that vision. And confidence is, it's a tool that I think every entrepreneur has to use and abuse. And that's a very candid admission that confidence is one of the key tools of any entrepreneur. But confidence it's a bit of a roller coaster. You know, it goes up and it goes down. And confidence has got a heck of a lot of drivers in it. But as long as you can credibly articulate what it is you're trying to do, how you think you're going to succeed, and then if you don't succeed, just to echo the previous question about coping mechanisms, my own coping mechanism is to understand exactly why we didn't succeed and try and turn that understanding and derive some positive learnings out of any particular exercise which has failed.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a theme in the discussion, this need for constant reinvention and constant analysis of the game plan and the strategy, you know, and there's a lot of sporting analogies, you know, around that. I think a question from WhatVit that's come through is, what's the one daily habit that you won't break in a business context? Gerry, if you may.
I suppose that we can speak on camera. I suppose, you know, you get into habits early on in your business, and you know, the key to any business is cash. And you know, the daily habit that I have is that we have enough cash. And you know, it doesn't matter about promises, it doesn't matter about product, it doesn't matter about lots of different things. It matters that you have enough cash to meet your commitments. And I suppose my daily habit is to check that we are on track to wherever we need to be in order to keep that lifeblood of the company and the expansion and all the things that we're doing going. And some people would describe me as OCD, so there's lots of other habits that we can't discuss. So.
And Andrew, from your perspective, is there any burning issue that?
Well, no, I was when you were asking Gerry there, I was thinking about this. I mean, my role has changed quite a lot, you know, since I started Sláinte. We've much bigger management team, and you know, there's a lot of things I used to do I no longer do. But I guess one constant that I still do now that I did when we had one employee was walk the floor, talk to people at least once a day, show my presence. It's something I picked up in manufacturing, management by walkabout, just the impact that just being out and about and taking an interest in what people are doing can have on an organisation. So I still try to do that. I do that on a daily basis, and you know, there's a proxy for that for the international people. It's sort of Skype call once a week or whatever. But I guess that's the habit.
And I know you're very active in terms of travelling across the world on planes as well. So that's part of the visibility trick. Dermot, to you the same question, and I suppose on top of that question, if you could add one person to your team as it's currently constructed, who or what person would that be, and where would they come from?
Okay, that's interesting. Let's start with the daily habit. So coffee is definitely a source of energy in the morning, but one of my main daily habits is first thing in the morning when I'm out of bed, I'll go and check the numbers. You know, business is all about numbers, and in the online space, I've thankfully got access to all the numbers that have come in overnight, and we have near real-time understanding of what's going on in the business. We've got systems deployed in the basements of casinos in everywhere from Connecticut to Pennsylvania to New Jersey. So the numbers that come out of those, it's probably my only main daily ritual in the morning, that before I hit the office, I've got an awareness of the numbers, which informs my attitude and my task list and all the other conversations I'm going to have that day, because I'm on top of the numbers. So numbers, certainly in internet gambling is important, but I think business generally, it's extremely important. As to who I'd want to add to the team that I have at the moment, we've just set up in America, and we've got a strong team over there, but we currently don't have any business in the region of Asia. And one of the groups of potential corporate customers of mine are the Macau casinos, which are all enthusiastically spitting out these vast amounts of cash generated by all these crazy Chinese gamblers who are attending the casinos. So I would love to have somebody senior who's sitting out there in Macau who's extolling the virtues of our business and our technology and the opportunity for land-based Macau casinos.
Gerry, the big question, how do you close a sale?
I think over the years I've always been taught, don't be afraid to ask for the order. You know, don't be afraid when you have explained what it is that you're selling, when you have understood your customer, understood your supplier, and understood the needs of where you fit in. I think you have to have the confidence to say, can I have the order? And, you know, there should be no shame at some point of concluding the negotiation and coming to a point where you say, you know, the obvious thing is, you sign up on the dotted line. There's no mistake to it. It's a natural progression, and if you're not getting to that point, there's some disconnect somewhere. So either you're in the wrong, the customer's not getting the point. So either you try harder, but at some point, the conversation has to be brought to a close, and it is up to you because you're ultimately going to benefit from it. You have to ask for the order.
Great question from Fuchsia Effect, which is also a great name. I'm going to ask you each in turn, and I'm going to start with you, Dermot. How do you feel about making the final?
It's an extraordinary privilege. I mean, just to be recognized amongst a group of 24. I mean, you know, do the math, 24 people out of the wide diaspora of the Irish internationally and domestically. That's an enormous achievement and also enormous privilege. And if any of us are given the opportunity to represent our country on the world stage in the Entrepreneur of the Year Challenge, that is an incredible gift, incredible honor, but also, you know, quite a real and intimidating challenge. So being part of the 24 has been an incredible experience so far, and I'm sure it will be through to the end and the conclusion, and also ongoing in the process. So it's a great experience, and I'd recommend it to everybody who's nominated.
Well, it's a great privilege to have you on board, Dermot. Gerry, how do you feel about getting to the final?
I certainly would echo what some of the sentiment that Dermot has brought across, but I think besides the final, which obviously is going to focus in October, it's going to end. I think more important for ourselves is to be part of a wider group of like-minded individuals, because one of I don't know what questions are coming up, but certainly a question that is asked of me quite often is you know, is it a lonely place? And it is a very lonely place running your own business. No matter how many people are in the organisation, the buck tends to stop with you. And to come into an organisation or this process, let's call it that, that allows you to confidentially discuss many matters, has been much more important to me than actual a competition. I mean, to be part of a process, and it's an ongoing process quite clearly, from the alumni and all of the other people that are involved in it. And certainly on retreat, I mean, whilst there was 24 finalists, there was over 100 and X number of people. So yes, it's lovely to get involved in a process and to make it to the final, but certainly from my point of view and from our point of view as Clubs to Hire, at the stage of growth that we're at, it's very interesting to be able to, and I say again, confidentially rely on people who have been there, or maybe not as far as you are, to give you a piece of advice, to bounce some problem off them or some suggestion off them, some business suggestion, and to meet so many different like-minded individuals.
And Andrew?
Obviously, you know, I mean, it's a huge honour. I think what's key is the inspiration you can draw from fellow finalists and the other alumni. That's been key for me, you know, as it has given another pep, you know, as we sort of embark on a pretty aggressive growth plan for the next 3 years. And, you know, it's a great opportunity to learn as well. I mean, I always feel that, you know, if I'm not learning something every day or you know, then maybe that'll be the time to stop. But you know, being able to tap all that knowledge, all that experience, and just be in the kind of company we're in is fantastic.
Next question, Dermot, is around motivation and what success looks like. And I think this is probably a personal question, but it's a number of people have come in particular, like Rona O has come in with what does success look like to you, Dermot?
Well, I think success is mostly about recognition amongst your peers, your friends, your family. Success isn't about a number in a bank account. It's not a bank balance or financial equation. I think success is being happy with yourself, that you built something that's sustainable, that's got real value. You employ people, you feed children, you educate them, you send them off to college, you employ people and can pay them enough so they can get married and buy a house and start a family. All these things, they're all different tiny components of what success means. Success is the sum of many different moving parts. It's not just about a bank balance. It should be about having your own very real perspective on what you've achieved, what you failed at, but also what you've achieved and what is sustainable as opposed to transient.
Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it is success is taking advantage of the potential that you have, and more importantly, allowing others to take advantage of their potential. I think that's the greatest measure of success I see. You know, the flowering of careers of people working with Sláinte. You know, that to me is the greatest measure of success. And if we once we don't, you know, leave things where we know we could do better, then for me, we'll always have a success.
And I mean, this is quite a difficult question, Andrew, if I may pose to you. You're obviously trying to build a business. You're trying to get the best team around you to make this particular venture the most successful it possibly can be. What happens if somebody sticks their hand up and says, "Do you know what, Andrew? I love watching what you've done. I want to go and start my own business." How would that conversation play out?
You mean one of
your
the
key
guys?
people? Yeah.
I think I would be disappointed, because they wouldn't be leaving, you know, a steady state environment, and I think, you know, there is plenty to reach for within Sláinte right now, that they could actually achieve some of those goals and even get some autonomy to even drive some of those things forward themselves within a Sláinte safety net. Notwithstanding, if it was something that they really were committed to, I would absolutely support them. We have supported people where they felt they had to go on a year's trip and brought them back into the fold once they were back. So, you know, you gotta sort of, you know, walk the talk, you know. So, I mean, if someone really has that, you know, I would probably be looking to invest in them and to make it happen and have some element of control over it.
Dermot, final question to you, if I may. You spend your life traveling around. You're involved in a listed business. You get to meet and lots of interesting people and have time to think about and new ideas for businesses and opportunities. What do you do with all those ideas that come across your desk, or you think of when you're still running the big business?
Well, so there's a bunch of ideas, right? There are ideas that you get through having open discussions with a lot of smart people you either employ or you interact with, and frequently you'll come up with a laundry list of ideas you'd love to pursue, but you haven't got the time or the resource, and that's where you give the idea to somebody else, and you invite somebody else to go and explore the what if of an idea. And sometimes those people will do it. Sometimes those people will be your employees. Sometimes those people will be employees who are leaving the business. Per your previous question, we had that situation about 2 years ago when a very smart individual left the business and he said, "I want to go set up a restaurant." So it's not like he was joining a competitor. And so myself and a couple of friends, we invested in the guy. And now the guy's got 3 different restaurants around London and he's enormously successful. And we've given him lots of ideas, even though we are fundamentally not qualified to input anything of value in the restaurant trade. So frequently, if you come up with ideas or you stumble across ideas, All I want to do is see that somebody will pick them up if I can't, run with them, and build something of interest and something that's generating value. I hope that in part answers that question.
Andrew, one final question. When you start a business as ridiculously young as you did, mentorship and boards and seeking out non-executive directors, where are you on that whole debate on the importance of?
Completely overrated.
Good man, Andrew. Good man. Don't sit in the fence on that one, son.
No, really, I mean, you start a business, yes. The risk people do is they overrate the impact of a mentor or certain support structures. And they draw on advice from people who actually don't really know your business or you. And the fact is that, yes, they may have done something or a number of things, and they may have things to add. But unless they really, really know what you're trying to achieve in your business and your philosophy and know you, often they can guide you down different paths that actually your gut might tell you, no, I shouldn't be doing this. And my view is, if this is going to be your baby, it has to be your baby. Absolutely listen to as many people as possible, but you make the decision. You need to take responsibility for that decision, and you can't outsource that to some mentor.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, it's been a great pleasure meeting you tonight. Andrew, Gerry, Dermot, it's been phenomenal. And as I said at the start of the conversation, we find, and I find this interaction personally very fueling. I know EY, we're very proud of the programme, and we treasure the interaction opportunities that gives us with guys like you. And for everybody out there, same time next week, 9 o'clock, look forward to it. Thank you.